Hi, this is our plant project for Mr. Zhao's ninth period biology class.
First of all, we need to talk about plant structure.
Some of the main structures are xylem, stomata, guard cells, trichomes, roots, and shoots.
The xylem is a vascular tissue that conducts water and nutrients from the roots.
Stomata is a microscopic pore that are mostly on the undersides of leaves.
Guard cells are two sausage-shaped cells around the stomata that regulate the opening and closing of the stomata by filling up with water and releasing it.
Trichomes are plant hair-like structures that increase solar radiation reflections and reduce water loss in plants.
The roots are used to absorb water and dissolved minerals, anchor the plant, and store food.
The shoot is the stem of the plant and its appendages.
Next, we have the photosynthetic structures like the grana, chloroplast, chlorophyll, and stroma.
The chloroplast is the site of photosynthesis and converts energy from the sun into food for the plant.
The chloroplast is made up of an outer membrane, inner membrane, granum, and stroma.
The granum are stacked up thylakoid structures inside of the chloroplast. They are also the site of light reactions for photosynthesis.
The stroma is the clear fluid that surrounds granum inside of the chloroplast.
Next, we have transport.
In non-vascular plants, all transport is done through diffusion.
But in vascular plants, transport is done using two specific tissues, xylem and phloem.
As we said in the beginning, the xylem is the tissue that conducts water and nutrients throughout the plant's veins, while phloem conducts sugars throughout the plant, which are used as food.
The xylem also physically supports the plant.
Plant responses to stimuli. There are many different tropisms that are a part of a plant's life. First, there is phototropism, aka heliotropism. Phototropism is growth or movement of the plant based on light source. A good example of this is a sunflower. Next, we have geotropism, also known as gravitorism. This is a plant's growth depending on gravity. A good example of this is when a seedling first begins to grow, it grows away from gravity.
Sigmotropism is a tropism which is triggered by contact with solids or surfaces. A good example is the Venus flytrap. Sigmotropism's movements created by changing turgidity of plant cells. Auxins have a big impact on tropisms. They are plant hormones that regulate plant growth. Plants have many responses to resource availability. When plants need more nutrients or are overheating, the plant opens its stomata to perform transpiration and aid in nutrient absorbing. Plants absorb water through their roots and carbon dioxide through their stomata to help them go through photosynthesis for energy. Plants transport these resources throughout themselves using their veins. Plant reproductive structures are the stigma, style, ovary, ovule, filament, sporophyte, gametophyte, and sporangia. The stigma is the upper part of a pistil in a flower which receives the pollen grains and is where they germinate. The style is the long, slender part of the pistil on a flower that has the stigma at its very top. The ovary is the enlarged and round part at the base of a pistil of a flowering plant, and this is where the seeds are produced. The ovule is the outgrowth on an ovary of a seed plant that, once fertilization is complete, develops into a seed. The filament is the stalk of a stamen that has anther, which is where pollen comes from. A sporophyte is the diploid individual of a plant that has alternating sexual and asexual generations, and it produces asexual spores. Gametophytes are haploid individuals of a plant or fungus that alternate between sexual and asexual generations, and they produce gametes from which the asexual sporophytes develop. Sporangia are a sac where spores are produced for gametophytes and sporophytes. For seed dispersal, there are many manners of which seeds and fruits can be dispersed, and they are anemochory, which is dispersal by wind, hydrochory, dispersal by water, and zoochory, which is dispersal by animals. Within the zoochorous group, there is still more differentiation that can be made, based on the carriers. Saurochory is dispersal by reptiles, ornithochory is dispersal by birds, and myrmecochory is dispersal by ants. The way in which they are dispersed can be narrowed down as well. First is endozoochory, which is where diaspores are carried within the animal, and epizoochory, which is where they are accidentally carried on the outside. Last is synzoochory, where they are intentionally carried, mostly in the mouth, by birds or ants. After the seeds have been dispersed, they now grow into new plants, and then the cycle continues for every single plant after that. And that's it for our biology presentation on plants.